What's going on YouTube? I thought I'd just make a video on my firearm setup, why I chose these, and the reason for switching over to two different sidearms. Basically, this is a Glock 45, as you can tell. Before I had a Glock 43X. Now I'm not in a position where I can have like a ton of guns, and that can mean a multitude of things. I basically only have two now, and I had two before. I had the Glock 43X and my LCR. The reason I got the LCR was I actually originally wanted a J-frame for a while, and one actually came up for me to grab, so I got this little 442. Awesome little gun, but I can't keep a bunch of guns, and I'm not gonna. I basically try to keep stuff that I'm gonna use and carry that's gonna serve some purpose for me. I'd like to collect them, but that's just not really in my cards, and these are decisions I'm making for myself, for my situation. So I'm not speaking for anyone, or I'm not suggesting people do anything, but just kind of my thought process and the reason I do that. But just to double check, this is not chambered. There is no magazine in this 45. When I got back into firearms, the first one I bought was a Glock 43X. I added a bunch of stuff. I took a bunch of stuff off. I ended up getting a red dot for it. I actually got an MOS slide from a friend on my 43X. Got a really good deal on an EPS carry, added that. I've had obviously taller iron sights, and I tried a couple of different triggers, but I actually went back to the stock trigger because I realized, I don't know, I know people give me trigger snobs, but when you're shooting fast, to me, it doesn't matter. Now for this one, I actually traded my 43X for a pretty much unmodified, brand new 45 MOS. The 43X was awesome. It was super concealable. I'm a small guy, so it was really helpful, but I don't get a lot of range time like I want to. I honestly believe, and I'm sure it's true, that you got to put in the time at the range. You got to go pretty frequently to kind of keep up those skills, because it is a depreciating skill if you don't go often. And I'm sure 99% of people out there who own guns may not shoot regularly, but I want to be proficient as much as I'm able to within my scope and my budget. But it was very small, and I didn't, with the frame being so slim and short, I didn't have a lot of real estate to put my support hands. See how much room I have with the 45, where I have so much areas to meet my palm, and I never shot it that well. It was kind of downheartening. Plus, I wanted something more general purpose. This is compact size, full size frame. It can be duty, it can be home defense, it could be a carry gun. I can actually carry this pretty well. Currently I'm using the PHLster Pro. I do want to get the DCC clips. This is a newer one for me. If you guys are not familiar with PHLster, they're an amazing company, makes a lot of good holsters, great customer service. This was the first one I ordered when I got my 45. And then I do have an Enigma set up with them. I'd had it from my 43X, but I actually got the skeleton to put it on the frame. And I use this when I don't want to wear a belt. This goes great with gym shorts, anything that doesn't have any belt loops that I'm not going to be wearing a belt. And I also have a mag attachment. And the sport belt on the back, I can put extra mags here, I can put a tourniquet, I have another pouch here, but this also keeps it in place. But PHLster, if you guys aren't familiar with them, check their stuff out on YouTube. They put out a lot of content on concealment tips, concealment mechanics, how to work better. I mean, with their tips and the work that I've done to conceal this gun, which would almost seem impossible because of my small frame, I can hide this pretty well in waistband. I do carry appendix. But I got this. I do end up shooting this a lot better. I had the shield arms mags for my 43X, but I'm more of the mindset that OEM's always going to be better. I never had an issue with my shield, but it was always in the back of my mind. But that carried 10 stock, 15 with the shield mags, but with the 45 stock mags, full fit, flush, 17 rounds, and plus it's compatible with pretty much all their 9mm double stack magazines. And the reason I stuck with Glock is I know how to work on them. I've experience with them. There are so many available parts for them that you can pretty much repair anything yourself, unless you have some kind of a catastrophic frame or slide issue. But let's face it, guys, Glocks, they're gritty. They're not that smooth, they're just clunky, but they just run, and that's the biggest thing for me was reliability. I wanted something reliable. So what I did with this when I first got it, I got the taller sights. I opted to get the tritium front Mariglow sights with the blacked out rear in anticipation of getting a dot for it. I hadn't gotten a dot yet. I did end up getting the Glock performance trigger, and I got this shoe right here. The performance trigger pretty much changes the function of the Glock trigger into a fully cocked striker, so it's a lot different break. It's a lot smoother break. It's a lot different than the stock Glocks, because when you're on a stock Glock trigger, as you're pulling the trigger, you're actually pulling the sear back to also pull the firing pin back, so you're having that tension as it's pulling that firing pin back, and then when it breaks, it lets it go. Whereas this, it's already cocked all the way to the back, the firing pin, so all you're doing is releasing the sear, and it's letting that thing fly to hit the the primer on your ammunition. So if you guys noticed, with this is a standard Co USA trigger shoe. This is the take up. I mean, that's barely anything. And then you'll see the break. And it's pretty light, but it's a nice rolling break. There's no sudden movement. There's no sudden snap for it. And for me, I tend to like that a lot more. Now the reset, the trigger does fall back a little more because it catches that firing pin. So it does fall back. Some people don't like that. And then the reset's right here. And then that's that nice easy break on there. The reason I don't mind the kind of a weird reset, and this does also spring back because there's a spring that pushes the trigger back, is I'm of the mindset whenever I'm shooting, unless I'm doing it slow and pinning the trigger, if I'm doing just doubles, as soon as I fire the first shot, I'm letting the trigger go so it's fully reset, and then as my recoil is going down and my dot is back on target, then I can push it again. As the recoil goes up, I try to let go of the trigger as fast as I can. So that reset itself isn't much of a bother for me, because I try to let the trigger go as soon as I can so I can be ready for the next shot when my targets are on. But shout out to Patrick. He's the knife maker of Doyle Knives. He gave me an amazing deal for this 508T. Amazing condition. He gave me a deal where I couldn't say no. But it was nice to get back to a red dot on this one. I wasn't shooting the irons too bad, but I got this zeroed the last couple of days. I went to the range yesterday or today, and then last week, and I feel like I got this zeroed pretty well. But the size of it lends itself where I can still carry it, but it can be a home defense gun. It can be a duty gun per se. But that's really all I'm going to do with it, is just the sights, trigger display setup, which is pretty much stock because it's a Glock part. Hollow Sun. Now that plate I'm using is the C&H Precision's weapon system. It's a pretty thin plate, but there is a gap right here. You can't really see it, but there is a little gap from the plate to the frame, and there's a slight one there. And what I'm afraid of is there's no tension between the plate and the slide, so there's some pretty much all that stress is my gun is recoiling, and when I'm shooting it is going to be put on the screws that are attached, so that concerns me. So I actually have a forward controls plate. It's supposed to be a lot more snug, and I feel like I will trust that a little bit more, so I'm waiting for that. But that's the only other thing I'll be changing. Other than that, I'm waiting on a light. I'm not going to get like an X300 or anything that's going to be long candela, because I don't really need that. I don't live in the woods. I don't have a huge house. I'm actually going to get the TLR7 HLX, which is still a high candela, high throw light, but it's in a compact form, so it's not going to be sticking out from the front of the muzzle as much. I got that ordered today. Can't wait for that. But I most of the time I'll just run this without a weapon light. I'm of the mindset that I don't need a weapon light. I don't go out at night. When I'm at home, I have a flashlight. When I go out, I have a flashlight. And if I feel like I have to point my gun at someone, I should already have them positively ID'd. There's a lot of back and forth with that. I am not telling you you're wrong or right either way. That's just my thoughts on it. Again, like I said, this video is about my process of choosing, but I feel like this is a really good general purpose gun. If you can only have a couple, this would be one of them, either this or the 19. The reason I chose the 45 and it came up is I don't have large hands, but you get a lot more real estate to get your hands to to really grip that gun, to keep it on target and control the recoil. And first time I've tried the Glock Performance trigger, but I definitely do like this. I tried the 4311 Johnny Glock's trigger on my 43X. It felt awesome, but my safety tab was kind of, if I didn't put my finger on the very bottom, that little back of the safety tab would drag on the frame of my 43X, so I ended up taking that out. I sold my other Overwatch and I went back to stock before I sold it, but honestly, I didn't see a big performance. It felt different to me, but I didn't perform any better. Maybe because my skills aren't there, or maybe I'm just not, you know, too in tune with the trigger stuff. I mean, I shot this just as well with the OEM trigger when I first got it, to be honest with you, but this just feels really nice, and I like the way my sights disrupt a lot less with this trigger brake. Like I said, it's just, I do like the new Glock Performance trigger, and I do maintain my stuff. I heard that if you don't oil your Glock Performance trigger at a certain spot, it can get very dirty and it cause some issues. I like to clean and oil my stuff every time I go to the range. Like today I shot 100 rounds. I just scrubbed off all the loose carbon off there to make sure it wasn't built up. I just wiped everything down. I didn't do it with E-clean, and then I just put oil in the 4 posts where the slide reciprocates. I oiled my barrel. I cleaned out the inside of the barrel because I know they can run dirty. I know they're super reliable, and people suggest don't ever clean them, but it's not gonna hurt to clean it, guys. I want to do anything I can within my power to make sure this stuff runs. I know this was kind of rambling, but like I said, if I'm not carrying this, if I want something smaller, I got this little package. And yeah, it's 5 shots. Yeah, it's 38 special. But that's me and my life situation. There's pros and cons. There are, give and take. I know the risk of taking a smaller gun out, and I accept that. I can live with that. I know at the end of the day, the gun's not going to be my first, option if something were to go bad, but it's there if I need it. But, I can sleep at night knowing I have these two if I need, plus I have my other things. I have pepper spray, I have a phone, I have my situational awareness, and I just don't go out unless I need to. I mean, I'm a type of person who will try to scan and pay attention to everything. My phone isn't stuck to my face, and everywhere I go, if I'm in public, I try to stay aware. I don't go to weird places. Things that help me mitigate my threat and any kind of issues I may have, but that's just stuff that I think about. Just things to think about and things to know. Check out PHLster, check out their YouTube page. If you guys are having issues concealing or carrying appendix, definitely check them out. Tenicor is another awesome company. Also, this Hunter Constantine belt, it's really awesome, really comfortable. I do suggest those. And people make fun of Glocks, and I agree. They're boring. They don't innovate, but they run, and that's the biggest thing that's important to me. You guys have to figure out what's important to you and what situation you guys have, and plan accordingly. I wish I were in a situation where I can just get a bunch of everything I want and just pick and choose, but I don't. So I got to be very mindful about the choices I make with the equipment I carry and the places I go and what I choose to train and carry with. But you guys be safe. If you guys stuck with me for this long, thank you. And in the bottom in the comments, let me know what you guys think about my setup. What do you guys carry? What do you guys think about just having a couple of guns? All right, peace.